What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans and their 2021 season preview, including record predictions. All that and much more coming your way right now! Hey Trash Talkers, it's Mike here. Over 93% of you who view our show each and every day are not subscribed to the channel. If you could hit that red subscribe button, it would help us out tremendously, and it is completely free for you guys. If you want to stay up to date with our daily content, then click that bell icon and you will be notified every time we go live. Nick and I both really appreciate you subscribing to the channel, and we can't wait to keep making more daily content for you. All right, Nick, as we continue this series, the Houston Texans are the final team in the AFC South that we have to cover. The Houston Texans had a very tumultuous offseason, both good, bad, indifferent. I mean, just a very, very active. And I want to take a look at, just sort of their additions, their losses, and we can have a brief discussion of where this team is before we start. But taking a look at the additions, strap in. This is going to be a long list. Offensive tackle Marcus Cannon, linebacker Kamu Grugier-Hill, running back Mark Ingram, linebacker Jordan Jenkins, linebacker Christian Kirksey, running back Phillip Lindsay, defensive end Shaq Lawson, wide receiver Andre Roberts, running back Rex Burkhead, quarterback Davis Mills, and the list goes on and on and on. So, out of this list, Nick, which do you think is the most impactful addition that the Houston Texans made moving forward?
I'm just going to take all the running backs that they've added this offseason, every 500 running backs that they added to this roster, because it seemed like every other day it was a new big name that they are adding. Mark Ingram, then it was Phillip Lindsay, then it was Rex Burkhead, on top of already having David Johnson. This team has more running backs than they know what to do with. This is going to be a very interesting season to see how the Texans work without having Deshaun Watson, as we're fully assuming. He'll be dealing with his personal issues. And I think that this is going, with the way the offensive line was reconfigured, I think this is going to be a very heavy running attack. They're going to be throwing these guys out there left and right. You're going to have 2-3 guys out there at a time. And I think they're going to be the biggest impact. They're going to be the highlight of this offense. They're going to be the ones that are doing a lot of the work in the trenches. It's going to be up to these guys to see how many wins the Texans get or not, because I don't care if it's Tyrod Taylor, Davis Mills at quarterback. It doesn't matter. They're just not going to be able to get the job done. The weapons that the Texans have are just not going to be enough. To me, the running backs are really going to be the key focus of this offense, and they're going to be the ones that really need to step up this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest addition for them actually came as not a player, but an executive, right? Their biggest addition was Nick Caserio coming over from the New England Patriots. You got to be talking about a guy that's going to get this team right. He knows how to build a team. He knows how to work within the confines of the rules, whether it's, bending them a little bit or whatever the case is. He can still build a roster that is going to compete, and I believe that he's going to do the same with the Houston Texans. Now, he went to the Houston Texans assuming that he was going to get Deshaun Watson. That may not be the case, and we'll get to that in a second. But when you take a look at these additions, I think that Nick Caserio is the biggest addition, because he's the one that's going to be running this franchise. He's going to be the one that's turning around this franchise from where they currently stand. And, when it comes to their draft, when it comes to everything that they had to do post Bill O'Brien era, I believe that he has his work cut out for him. And I think that Nick Caserio will be able to do his job. I think he's going to have the Houston Texans back up and running in the next couple of seasons. When we take a look at their additions, there's obviously some losses, and some big losses at that. We got to start off with J.J. Watt going to the Arizona Cardinals, Bernardrick McKinney, Will Fuller, both going to the Miami Dolphins. And the biggest loss of all, possibly Deshaun Watson for the season as he battles his court cases in civil court. Again, that's something that if you want to learn more about, check our YouTube channel. We've done extensive videos on this. We've talked about it in depth, and go check out those videos. With that being said, which one of these losses to you, Nick, is the most impactful for the Texans moving forward?
I'm not even going to take Deshaun Watson. I think that's a little too easy. I'm going to go with J.J. Watt, who's still a very easy choice because 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, absolute stud, one of the greatest defensive players we've ever seen. This guy is going to be a huge loss for them. What he does, not only as a defensive end and a guy who absolutely destroys offensive lines, gets a ton of sacks, he's a huge leader for this team. He is a guy that you can stand behind, that a guy you really want as your teammate, and a guy you're going to listen to. He is a true leader, one of the very few real leaders we have in the NFL. And now with him gone, him to the Arizona Cardinals, who does this team turn to? It would have been Deshaun Watson, but he's not there. He's not in the picture. They need a guy like J.J. Watt to really hold down this team as they're going through these struggles. I think with him gone, he's not only a loss on the field during game time, he's a loss off the field in the offseason. This is going to be a guy that they miss every single day they get into the office, get on that field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, him and Bernardrick McKinney were massive, players in that locker room that really kept the cohesion, especially when they didn't have things going right. They kept everybody together. They kept everybody focused. Those guys are not there. Now, I'm going to take Deshaun Watson here. And obviously, this is something that we continuously have to talk about because Deshaun Watson is most likely not playing at all this NFL season. In fact, he's going to be one of those guys that we take a look at and say, what could have been if he was still there, because I think that they could at least compete for their division if Deshaun Watson is still there. He's that talented. I think he is the guy that makes or breaks an entire NFL franchise. Just one player. Not often do you see that with one player in the NFL, but I think Deshaun Watson is that guy. So I think the loss of him, not only again on the field, but off the field as well. You lost J.J. Watt, you lost Bernardrick McKinney, you lost Will Fuller, you lost a lot of key pieces, a lot of voices in that locker room. Not having Deshaun Watson, the head of the team, the quarterback, the guy everybody looks to. When you don't have that guy, there's no team cohesion. There's nothing that people are willing to play for. And at this point, I think that the Texans are in a very bad situation as they have to deal with this Deshaun Watson situation and watch it play out. All right, let's take a look at the Houston Texans schedule so we can get to their record predictions. All right, taking a look at the schedule for the Houston Texans. The Texans are at home to start the season. They host the Jacksonville Jaguars, and at this point, the Jacksonville Jaguars have made vast improvements to their team. They have brought in a brand new coaching staff, and there's going to be some ups and downs, but I think this is actually one of those ups for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Texans still learning a new system, new head coach. They're going through the same thing the Jacksonville Jaguars are, only they don't have the burden of the Deshaun Watson case going on. I think that's going to remain heavy on this team throughout the entire season. Look for the Texans to actually give up this game week 1. I have the Jaguars winning week 1.
Moving into week 2, the Houston Texans are headed to Cleveland, facing a very much improved Cleveland Browns team. This is going to be a very, very rough matchup for the Texans. This is going to be an absolute steamroll by the Browns offense. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Then when you look at the defense, you've got Jadeveon Clowney there. He faced you twice last season. He knows how to scheme against you. I think that this secondary is going to stop any weapons the Texans have at this point in the season. To me, the Browns are going to steamroll week 2 over the Texans.
Then in week 3, the Carolina Panthers head to Houston, where the Texans take on the Panthers. And I believe that, again, another team that vastly improved this offseason. The addition of Sam Darnold, they brought in some key pieces along this offense and this defense. I believe they're going to be able to get after whoever is under quarterback, whether it's Davis Mills or Tyrod Taylor. They're going to have a bad day under center. This Thursday night matchup is not something I'm looking forward to. I look for the Panthers to win easily in week 3.
Then in week 4, the Houston Texans are headed to Buffalo, where they're facing a team who was in the AFC Championship game last year. I don't think the Texans can say that at all. In fact, they can't. The Houston Texans are going to have to pull out all the stops, try to pull off the miracle of miracles against the Buffalo Bills, but I just don't see that happening. I think the Buffalo Bills offense too strong, and their defense should have a very easy time against this offensive line, and getting Tyrod Taylor down is going to be a very frequent sight.
Then in week 5, the New England Patriots come to town, and this is kind of a Nick Caserio revenge game as he is trying to hype up his team to beat his former employer, Bill Belichick. Things did not end on the best of terms with Nick Caserio in New England, and I believe that at this point the Patriots are just a much stronger team than the Houston Texans. Doesn't matter if it's Davis Mills or if it's Tyrod Taylor. The New England Patriots are going to have the number of that quarterback, and they're going to get after them early and often, and I believe that the Texans aren't going to be able to score pretty much anything on offense. Look for the Patriots to come out in victory in week 5.
The Houston Texans in Week 6 are headed to Indianapolis, where they face the Colts for the first time this season. New Colts quarterback Carson Wentz should have a very nice day, as he's not going to get a lot of pressure on him from this defensive line that the Texans have. The Colts are going to have enough weapons with T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman running around these Texans cornerbacks. To me, the Texans just don't stand a chance, even in this divisional matchup. The Colts are going to take Week 6.
Then in week 7, the Texans continue their road trip as they head out west to the Arizona Cardinals, and they take on the Cardinals, who also vastly improved this offseason. Talking about adding A.J. Green to a wide receiving core that already had DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk. Then you take a look at these running backs, adding James Conner to the mix. Yet you brought in some key pieces on the defense like, I don't know, J.J. Watt, who used to play for the Houston Texans. And I believe that this is going to be a revenge game for J.J. Watt. He's going to get after the quarterback early and often. Look for Watt to have a career day in Week 7. The Cardinals are going to win easily in Week 7.
Then Week 8, the Rams make their way to Houston. Instead of the Texans playing on the West Coast twice in a row, they just make the West Coast team come to them. Doesn't matter. Los Angeles might as well have a home game because the Rams are going to stomp all over the Texans. This offense with Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Deshaun Jackson, it's just way too much from the handle. This is going to be an absolute blowout, and the Rams defense is really going to show up against the Texans offense.
In week 9, the Houston Texans go on the road to Miami to take on the Dolphins. And I got to be honest, up until this point, even with Deshaun Watson, this is one hell of a schedule. Maybe they get 1 or 2 of these games, but I mean, we're at 0-8 at this point, and things are not getting easier as the Miami Dolphins got Will Fuller from this team. They got Bernardrick McKinney. These 2 players are going to want to put it to their old team, both sides of the ball. I believe that the Dolphins are coming out and they're going to absolutely blow the doors off the Texans. Look for the Dolphins to win easily in week 9.
Then in week 11, the Houston Texans are headed to Tennessee, where they face the Titans for the first time this season. And this isn't the same old Titans. They have Julio Jones now. Would it really matter, though? Because in the last 4 matchups, Derrick Henry has absolutely trounced this defensive line. He has blown them to smithereens. He has made them look like school children out there. Derrick Henry single-handedly destroys this team with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown as a unit together this season. It's just going to be even worse for the Houston Texans. Tennessee Titans are going to have a breeze taking Week 11.
All right, and then Week 12, the New York Jets come to town, and the Texans sitting pretty bad right now, 0-10. They've had their bye week. Things are not looking better for them, but at this moment, the New York Jets are still in a rebuild mode. They're still getting used to things. I think this is one of those gotcha games where the Houston Texans are going to be able to put on their resume and say, you know what, we got the better of the Jets. We got the better of a rookie quarterback. Our offensive line was able to move their defensive line. We're going to be able to run on these guys and control the time of possession. I actually have the Texans winning in Week 12.
Big upset alert in Week 12. Maybe not really because it's the New York Jets. But in Week 13, the Indianapolis Colts head to Houston this time, where they face off for the final time this season. Carson Wentz got to look at this Houston Texans defense and said, this is going to be a cakewalk the second time. And it's going to be just that. The Houston Texans really have not shown anything this season that's a promise moving into this matchup. And the Colts offense have really shown up this season, continuing their surge from last year. I think the Colts are going to have a very good win in Week 13 against their division rival.
In week 14, the Seattle Seahawks make the trek across the country to Houston, take on the Texans, and Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Chris Carson. These guys are bad, bad, bad guys, and they are coming to town for just an absolute onslaught. They know what this defense looks like, and they are going to put the pedal to the metal. Look for the Seahawks to absolutely rout the Texans in week 14.
Then in week 15, the Houston Texans head to Jacksonville. They get to face Trevor Lawrence for the second time this season. But Trevor Lawrence has been much improved since their first meeting in week 1. You expect that the Jaguars are going to be having their worst games in the beginning of the season, but by this time in the season, week 15, they're going to be a full unit. They're going to be working together. Their chemistry is going to be at 100. To me, Trevor Lawrence will be playing his best ball at this point in the season, and the Jaguars are going to have an easy time taking the Texans. Texans really can't do anything to stop Trevor Lawrence at this point.
Then in week 16, the Los Angeles Chargers come to Houston, and the Chargers have had a very difficult schedule at this point in time, and they come to Houston where they're looking for a little reprieve. Only Tyrod Taylor, who I expect to be the quarterback, will be facing the Chargers, who punctured his lung and took his starting job away. Look for him to be pretty angry about this one. I think that the Texans are going to get their second victory of the season this week. I believe that the Texans are going to come out on top of the Chargers in a very close matchup, and I believe that the Chargers are going to look back and be like, what the hell just happened?
That is actually an upset for the Los Angeles Chargers. That is a big win for the Houston Texans, and they want to try to keep it going as they go into week 17, headed to San Francisco, where at this point, it's probably going to be Trey Lance heading up the 49ers offense. And Tyrod Taylor, he didn't like when Justin Herbert took his job last season. He wants to prove that he is a better quarterback than these rookies coming in. But Trey Lance is a different animal. He's a different breed. He is built to last. He is a guy who's really going to explode in the NFL, and he's got enough weapons to get past this Houston Texans team. To me, the 49ers still are a much better team than the Texans, and they're going to rout the Texans in week 17.
Not often where you say the 49ers have enough weapons to beat another defense, but that's a discussion for another time. Taking a look at the Houston Texans in week 18, the final matchup of their season, the Tennessee Titans come to town, and the Titans are obviously playing to lock up the division. They're playing for playoff seeding. They're playing for a whole lot of things. The Houston Texans sitting at 2-14, not playing for a whole hell of a lot. And at this point, I believe that the Tennessee Titans are going to put the cap on their season. They're going to get this win easily, and it's going to be a blowout early and often. The Titans will win in week 18.
Well, with a record of 2-15, it's not pretty. It's definitely not pretty for the Houston Texans. But honestly, what can you expect from a team that has completely overhauled itself with a new regime coming into the front office, and your star quarterback, one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, is not playing because he's dealing with personal issues off the field? This is going to be a very bad season for the Texans, but I think the silver lining is you get this hard schedule out of the way. You get the AFC East out of the way, and you get the NFC West out of the way, two big divisions that you won't have to face for another 4 years. This is the perfect season to have a bad year, and then you get to have a top pick in the draft. You get to have a lot of money to spend in the offseason. I think that Nick Caserio definitely improved this team this offseason. He's going to do the same next offseason, and he's going to have a lot more draft capital, a lot more cap space to work with. The Texans are having a bad year, but you got to look towards the future and what it can provide you. I think the future for the Texans is actually very bright.
Yeah, the Texans finally have their draft pick back to them, and the fallout from the Bill O'Brien era is continuing to really expose itself. I mean, we're talking about the loss of DeAndre Hopkins, the loss of J.J. Watt, the loss of Deshaun Watson with his civil court cases. I mean, any team would be absolutely decimated when you're talking about losses of these generational talents that are no longer a part of this team. And you're building a new franchise essentially from the ground up. No quarterback, no defensive end, no wide receiver. I mean, those are three of the top four positions that any team is looking to fill. So when you take a look at where they are, plus the teams they had to face, the way their schedule laid out, things are not looking pretty. We gave them a win against the Chargers. It could easily go the other way. I mean, we're possibly looking at a 1-16, 2-15 team here. And I believe the Houston Texans, once they get everything situated, they start building things back up, they're going to be in the hunt again. They're going to be looking for, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Tennessee Titans. They're looking at the Indianapolis Colts. I think that all of these teams are going to have to keep an eye on the Texans because who knows? They could make a move for, I don't know, say Jimmy Garoppolo. They could make a move for some of these other guys that Nick Caserio had his eye on when he was in New England. I believe that over time, the Houston Texans will be able to build this up, but this is not their season. And, hopefully they'll be able to figure it out. But that'll be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.